Okay. Welcome to the I2I Motorcycle Academy. Changing a tyre today. And I'm using the Rabaconda kit, which is pretty good. So what I've done is I've taken the wheel off, obviously. Mounted it on the stand here. So the first thing I need to do is I need to break the bead, and then I can get the tyre off. So using nothing except this little lever here, which then has it's like a rubber shoulder, if you will. So it's that dude here. This goes on. Okay, and then it just presses on the edge of the tyre and hopefully breaks the bead. It takes a little practice, it has to be said, to get used to it. But after you get used to it, it's not too bad. So literally all I'm doing is I'm just putting pressure down, and it should push the bead in enough to break it free of the rim. Just takes a bit of pressure like that, straight down, no big drama. Rotate it, do it again, and literally you just work your way around. Okay. I'm actually a bit surprised that the bead broke that easily, to be fair. Which is fine. So now I've done that side, need to whip it off, turn it around, do the other side. The only reason I really bothered getting one of these is I just found in between my events, I often didn't have enough time to get the bikes dropped in and stuff, and to speed up the process you often were taking off the wheels, to help. And then I was thinking, well, kind of halfway there, as well just to do it myself. So I've done a lot of research, spent ages looking into different machines that do it. This one just seemed to continually have the good reviews, so I decided to get one. Okay, thankfully this bead has been a little bit more realistic to what it normally is. It normally takes a little bit more effort, and that first one just popped off straight away, which was great. It's a bit like I set it up, but I didn't, it just happened. So you can see that I'm trying to get this to break. Sometimes you got to rotate it a bit, and do another section, and have a go there, and rotate it a bit more, and it's already gone there now. So that's it, boom. So it just, not take a massive force, but it just takes more patience and technique than anything else. Okay, so right now we've got the bead broken all the way around, which is great. And hopefully you can hear me decent, because this mic is supposed to be pretty decent. It's one of these DJI mics. Anyway, so have that broken, which is great. The next bit then is we've got to try and work the tyre off the rim, which is this the hardest bit? Yeah, this is probably the hardest bit. Now I like to take this and I like to wet it a bit first, underneath, because obviously you want it to kind of move if you can, make it easier for yourself. So if you spray underneath, just lubricates it a little bit. And all I've got on this is just water, nothing major really. And then it sits on the rim and goes on this little shaft here. And once it's in place, you tighten it up, no drama. And then you take this tyre lever, which has a lip on it. It also has a protected end. And on the edge of this little mount here, you've got a lip that you can place. So I'm putting it curved side up. I'm putting it in so that's like finding the gap between the tyre itself and the rim. And once it finds that, you've got that lip round, you can pull it back off. However, a helpful thing to do along the way, if I can just find my hammer, I have a little rubber mallet. Obviously, so it protects the rim in case I miss, which I do often. So what you want to be doing is you want to make sure that the tyre has gone inside the edge of the rim into the middle, where there's a bigger gap. And once it's in that gap, it gives you more room up this side, to find the gap between the tyre and the rim. Right, so then what I've got to try and do, I've got to leverage it, push this down, to start it really, and then you're golden. So I'm keeping a bit of pressure on that lever here, which I'm finding quite a lot of resistance right now. But as I, tap the tyre in to the middle section of the rim, I'm getting what feels like a little bit more room to push the lever down. So I'm not really trying that hard. I'm just trying to find the right position there. Now that's much easier. Now it's popped in. Just, again, it's not so much brute force, it's just a small bit of time and patience. Just make sure you got all the way around. So now it feels a lot easier. So now I go with the last little bit, and you can see I'm pulling the rubber over the shoulder of that little runner. That's all I'm trying to do. And it just feels like it needs a bit more, so I'm just helping it. And now that it's got there, there's like a little latch underneath here that you put it under. So this lever isn't sitting on the rim, because obviously it's damaged the rim. So it's still sitting on the shoulder of the Rabaconda unit here, so that now all I have to do is just ratchet this round, which is quite easy. So this little fella here, it's like a ratchet system. So you just put your lever on. I want to be around this side so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so now it's on, and now you're pushing down against it, and then of course the whole rim will move. So thankfully there's another little piece of equipment. It's just a little bolt stop really. So this fella just pops down into a little hole in the frame here, and as that goes through, it's got a rubber cover on it, so it's not going to damage your rim. So now as I feed that down, it hits that little pin and it can't go any further. So now I can just put some pressure on that, and as I put the pressure on it, obviously it's gonna move eventually, kind of hope. Now that feels like a bit high where it is at the minute, so I'm going to run this round somewhere there, I think. Yeah, feels better, so that I can really put my weight on it. And once you start it moving at all, once you get it going, keep it wet, makes it easier for yourself. Now it's working its way down and round the rim, and what normally happens when you start moving it, that little lever has really no job to be doing, so you can normally just pull it out then, and that's you kind of done with that, to be fair, for now. And then you just run this round, all the way around. That's it. That's it. It's easy as that. And that's one side of the tyre off. I like to set it back up to the same upright position again. Grab my lever once again. Now it's like the whole thing is easier to move now. And I get my hand and I wrap it round the other side of the tyre like this, but I'm around this side. And then, once again, trying to put this on the shoulder of that plastic bit rather than your rim. Then I put my fingers around the other side of the tyre, and I'm just feeling for where that lever is, so that I get it just to go the other side of the tyre. And then once it's got it, push down and clip it around there again. Now it's kind of holding it off that side of the rim, and it's just the same process again. I just, wind it round. As soon as you do a small bit of a turn, you find that the lever here is, that's not really doing much. So then you're just working it around. So that's kind of it. I'll take this off now, and that is it. That's the tyre off with actually a nice nail or screw in it from before. You can see it right there. Right, so that's that. So that tyre's off. The next bit is to get the new tyre on, which I have over here. Okay. Golf balls out. Don't need that. On the rim, you'll normally have arrows telling you the direction of the rotation, which on this, so the side, so just tell me going that way. And you'll also find there's markings on your tyre, which also shows you the direction. So there's a little directional arrow here, so I need to make sure that that matches with the direction on the arrows. So have a look. So they're going that way, so that needs to be going that way, so that means that's the way I'm doing it. So that's rotation wise, we got that one. Then the other thing is there's usually a mark, and you want to put the mark on the tyre. Sometimes they're red, sometimes they're yellow, sometimes they're white. You want to put that mark opposite the valve, essentially. So that's kind of where we're going on. So the valve is down here, I'm going opposite it. Before I put it on, I'll just spray the tyre so that, it goes on, slides over easier. It just saves you so much hassle later on. Alright, so now I've got the rotation correct. Put it on, got the dot opposite side of the valve, and we're good to go. So we're just pushing that all on the way over there. Sound. And now you just got to rotate this round, and it'll push the tyre on. I mean, it's simple enough, really. Yeah, there it goes. Now sometimes it can pop over, so then you got to just reset it. It's nearly there. Go again. I'm also on this side. I'm trying to push it down into the middle of into the rim again, because it takes a lot of the pressure off the tyre. So I'm trying to push over the rim edge. That's nearly on there now. Boom. That's that one. And then bring it back up here again. And then what you're trying to do is, get it over the shoulder, really, up this side. Ooh, there you go. And now you're just starting sending again. So push this side into the middle of the rim, so it's got loads of room. Push it down into it, and then I'll actually just see if I can get this going. Again, I'm not using any levers here. I'm just holding it in position, cracking on. So now, because it's going on half, obviously as this goes round, it's pulling this under more tension. So what you really want to try and do, if you can, before you pull too much tension on it, is try and get this bit of the tyre to be sitting in here in the middle. Because if it goes in there, it's going to give you more room down here to get that to go over. And again, it's just about thinking about what am I trying to achieve? Right, so that's gone down now onto the edge. holding on. Just keep hold that in position. Keep going with this. Right, and then now that I've got it down here, I'll go down this one. As soon as I do it, as soon as I hit it, the tension that's been pulled down there keeps it on the wider section of the rim in the middle, you know what I mean? The more it resists you, the more you just gotta hammer it because the more you get the tyre into the middle of the rim, the more room it has. You know? And a spray helps the process. Okay. Again, if I can, keep it pushed down into the middle of the rim, because that's what will give you the room. It's nearly there. Once you get to a certain point, it's always working in anyways, you know, and then you're doing your rotation. That's basically it. That's it done. Okay? It is that simple. So now all I've got to do is connect it to the compressor. It'll put air into it, push it onto the bead. Job's a good one. It's that simple. And that's it. Pretty quick, really. Thanks for watching. Hope that helps.